This is Tommy Two Scoops, and we're here drinking with Moe's.
This is Drinkin at Njpw, where we talk about the pros of pro wrestling in the Midwest while sipping on some brews with blessed beers and wrestling. That's my scene. Death matches and lucha libre, it's also mean. I'm a straight up smart goofball, not no kiss ass. I stand tall when it comes to wrestling. I'm the king. I know every move, every fling. Get ready for a wild time with Drinkin at Moe's, where we don't quit. Drinkin at Moe's, that's where it's at. Like a power bomb, we hit hard, never flat. Fucking right, we're living the dream. Talking about wrestling, always a scream.
All right, everybody, taking time out before we get this show started. I want to thank Reaper Apparel for having Drinkin' Mo's be a brand ambassador for their clothing line. They got good stuff. They got t-shirts, they got hoodies, they got beanies, they got lots of great stuff, encouraging everybody to break out of their comfort zone, live their best self, and hey, it's something I try to live every day. Now, be sure when you go and you're filling out your order, use the code Drinkin' at Moe's, get 10% off, and the link and the code will both be in the description. Let's fucking go. All right, everybody, welcome Drinkin' at Moe's. Big Mo here. You know the drill by now. YouTube, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. Because YouTube's algorithm is a pain in the ass. Where most places you can find audio podcasts too. Today, excited to have with me Tommy. The words are hard. Tommy Two Scoops, how you doing?
Two Scoops, I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
Well, now that I can actually figure out how to talk, I'm
good.
talking.
You're doing better than me.
Oh, yeah. No, I've had some pretty good stuff over the last little bit. I was actually at Collision this last Saturday.
Oh, sweet. Where was that?
That was in Council Bluffs, Iowa.
Got you. I'm going to be in Iowa this weekend coming up.
No kidding.
Yeah, Cedar Rapids, SCW.
Oh, okay. The other side of Iowa from me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that'll be fun. But yeah, it was the first time AEW has come this close to Omaha, so I'm like, shit, I'm getting right in there, and ended up being third row right behind the announce desk.
Sweet. That's awesome. I know a lot of people that actually one of the guys that trained me, he now works for AEW.
No
so
kidding.
I know a lot of connections over there. That's like my dream destination. And I've been very vocal about that.
Oh, yeah. No, I always, since they started, I've always kind of leaned more towards them. Mm-hmm. And you know, it's funny when I look back at my collections back here. Wasn't until like the last day or so that I realized, holy shit, I have way more AEW figures than I do the WWE ones. And I didn't even realize that until, like I said, just a couple days ago.
Well, you know, the figures, the AEW figures, they're so much more detailed and everything. They put a lot of work into their figures.
Oh, yeah. No, even the Unmatched and the Unrivaled, like just the basic, those ones, so detailed, and like you have to go into, like, for WWE ones, you have to go into like the Ultimates to get that level of detail.
Which those are out of this world too. I've been seeing remember there's a couple of them, like the Ric Flair one and stuff. Now there's one for everything, which is pretty cool.
Oh yeah. I've got a couple down here. I've got my all-time favorite Stone Cold Steve Austin right there. So got some good ones. But before we get into too big of a tangent, first thing I like to start off with everybody with is what got you started as a fan, and then what got you deciding to make that leap into the business.
Sweet. So I've been a fan all of my life. So one of my very first words was actually The Rock, you know, since I was a baby. My dad grew up with it. So my grandbrother, my dad's dad, also wanted to be a wrestler. He actually knew a bunch of wrestlers, used to party with them when they come into town back in the day. Um, and then so I grew up watching the youngest of three siblings, all boys, all brothers. So I was always the test dummy. But we used to always play. Couldn't wait for Monday night. We'd wrestle. Got to the
Didn't
point
listen to
where we
the,
have.
not to
Say that again?
interrupt you.
You're fine.
Didn't listen to the whole "don't try this at home" thing.
Not at all. Matter of
Not
fact, we were innovative. We would make our own ring, you hear the stereotypical where you put up the mattresses. Nah, we just put the couches around the floor was our base, and I feel bad to this day because my mom, she just retired this past week from the school system, but now she's actually remodeling her bathroom and fixing up her house because we destroyed her house, really. You know, there's so many offsetting pictures on the wall and stuff of me and my brothers going through it. We used to stomp through the floor and the floor and stuff. It's all paying off now, I think. But so I grew
yeah.
up into it. I was 18 years old when I first went to my first live independent show.
Okay.
And at that very moment, I looked to my dad, just him and I told him, I want to do this. I'm blown away. And he looked at me and he's like, "You're about the size of those guys in there." Um, and it's kind of crazy how it all works full circle because I just did a 3-day event in Denver, 3 days full of wrestling, TV
Mhm.
recording, 700 people at this big place, awesome kind of a deal. And the guy I traveled with was Turbo Tony. He's the wrestler out in Albuquerque, and he's the guy who actually first ever saw in the ring. So I
No
was
kidding.
18 years old, and he was the first wrestler I ever saw wrestle. Fast forward, what are we? I'm 25 now, so 7 years later, and I'm actually on the road with him.
No kidding. That
Yeah.
is definitely a full circle moment if I ever heard one. And it's kind of funny when you were bringing that up. I'm thinking that I kind of have somewhat of a similar thing. But I got a little bit later of a start on independent shows. Didn't Those that watch the show, they know the story that I got my start watching independent shows when I was stationed in the Navy in San Diego.
Okay.
That was like I was 25 at the time. So a little bit later of a start, but now one of the guys that was in the first show I ever went to. He was in the first show that I went to and the last one before I came back. And now he's like a big brother to me.
Can I ask what promotion it was out in San Diego? Because I wrestle on Long Beach a lot, and I would love to go to San Diego.
It was, well, one was New Wave, but the one that's actually still going is actually SoCal Pro.
I know exactly where they are. Yeah, that's awesome. I
Yep.
know a lot of the same guys that wrestle the same shows. I'm typically more so on the West Coast, Southwest, West Coast.
Mm.
I've done Vegas, I've done California, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, West Texas. So I'm trying to branch out more east now. So I'll be in Iowa this weekend, like I said. St. Louis coming up in the end of the year in September.
Okay.
So going more east, but you said San Diego, you're in the Navy, correct?
Mm-hmm.
We used to play in rugby in college. So I played rugby in college at New Mexico Highlands University. And we used to play against Cal Maritime out in San Diego. And
Okay.
they were tough. That was always a fun game because no one parties like the Navy, man. And beautiful place. San Diego was beautiful. I'd love to wrestle out there.
Oh God, yeah, no, partying like the Navy. Yeah,
And all my family's
definitely.
Navy. Yeah. So my mom's dad, Navy, all his brothers, Navy. And, that's if I wasn't wrestling, I'd most likely be in the Navy. And when I was 18 years old, I was in college and I told my mom, I don't like school. It's either, I join the National Guard or the Navy, or I'm going to give wrestling a shot. And, bounce back and forth. And it all kind of happened this way. So
Oh
I'm
yeah,
better.
and well, you mentioned knowing SoCal Pro.
Hmm?
Then you might know the guy that I was mentioning that I mentioned like a big brother to me, SoCal Crazy over there.
I'm familiar with the name. I've never met, but I Pretty sure we're Facebook friends.
Oh yeah, no, then yeah, no, you at least know of him. Yeah, no,
Right.
I've actually had him on the podcast a couple times, and yeah, no, he's
Well, yeah, I would love to get his contact information. I love that area, and I know that San Diego is not too far from Long Beach, and I wrestled for PCW Ultra,
okay.
and I got on their main show, and so I go out there every time they run a show, and I'd love to expand more in California because my fan base, this in California is probably where I become most popular,
Oh,
where I've hijacked shows where I was the opening match, and in the main event, they're still chanting my name. I would love to go out there and do something in San Diego.
oh, I'm sure I can see what can happen. I know SoCal Crazy's on a little bit of a break right now, going through cancer treatment right now. It's nothing that he hasn't put out there, so I don't got to worry about sharing something I shouldn't be. But he can pass along information somewhere. I'm sure I can get that arranged. Now,
Absolutely.
before we go, because I am curious some more stuff about the Denver trip you just got back from. One thing that I do like to ask everybody about is how you came up with the in-ring persona that you have, because you know starting out from everything that I've been able to gather with other people I've had on, the first little bits of, kind of a feeling out process, what's going to stick, what won't, what's catching on. How did you come up with yours?
It was all an accident, really. So
It's
it
funny.
stuck without me even trying to make it stick. So what would happen is when I started training, I moved from Las Vegas, New Mexico, a little small town of 13,000, I think. But I grew up in an even smaller area of Rivera, New Mexico, so population of 300 maybe. Um, so small town kid, and I kind of just dropped everything going into my senior year of college, and I was going to become a teacher, football coach, and then I was like, I don't really want to do that. I want to at least give wrestling a shot. So I started looking up like what's the nearest and best wrestling schools to me. And I reached out to a couple, and a lot of them were kind of like money grabs. It was kind of like, show up on but the one that stuck out to me the most that really impressed me was the Arizona Performance Center,
Mm.
Arizona Pro Training Center. And that's run by Don Vitale, Gabriel Gallo, John Wolfgang. And they have tons of connections. So like there's been times where I walked into class and like Dan Severn was there, or just tons of little stuff like that. Val Venus. But they just were professional and they had a system and they had a tryout basis. And, it was like, if you're going to come, you can't just show up. It's going to be on this certain date and you have to do this amount of exercises and you have to pass before you have a 6-week evaluation. And you have to work your butt off for 6 weeks before you even earn the right to get in the ring. And then after that, you have 6 weeks before, you're going to just be rolling. And then you have 6 weeks and you have to learn how to do this to perfection before we even teach you how to bump. So, it's going to be like a serious school. And that stood out to me. So when I packed up my bags and dropped everything just for a tryout. And it was 8 hours away. Didn't know anybody in Phoenix. I never really driven in a big city by myself. Never lived in a big city by myself. But I bet on myself, and I went through the tryout process, and I brought the intensity. So, former football player, former rugby player. I love being physical, and I love competition. And that was a school full of competition. Um, the guys out there are hungry, and the guys that were at the top, that's still at the top, like Alexander Hammerstone, he trains at our school. Those guys, and like to even be close to their level, like you have to give it 100%.
Yeah.
So my original name was Tommy Test, which kind of still is. My trainer gave it to me because I was just Tommy. I was just Tommy hanging out. I was. But when I got in the ring, I'd hit the ropes as hard as I could, for as long as I could. And it was a joke, Tommy Test, let's go, like just messing around. And then all of a sudden, I had my first battle royal, a match, 2 years into training.
Mm.
And they're like, all right, Tommy Test, you're up. What's your name? That's it, baby. Went out, had a blast. I was Tommy Test. Um, and then they booked me again and stuff like that, and in a singles match, and I just kept it. But then I was a heel. Naturally, I don't think I'm like a good heel like as a in real life. You know, I had a blast doing it. It's just not me. So for my first 10-ish matches of my career, I was a bad guy, Tommy Test, and I was just like an angry dude, kind of that really wasn't me. So I was actually going to wrestle this guy named Metanoia at my school, and I had just got off from work and stuff, and I was in my brother-in-law's truck, and I'm shaking up my protein bottle, but ahead of the venue. And to my wife, hey, just record this real quick. Like I already cut a promo, but I wanted to just try to get my friends out there.
Yeah.
And I had the shaker bottle, and I was like, hey, you may know you like to party with the fans, blah, 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 waste your time. While you're doing that, I'm here drinking my two scoops, Tommy Two Scoops Deluxe, blah, 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 just talking crap. Well, I get to the venue, and all the boys are loving the promo. Two scoops, Tommy Two Scoops, two scoops. And not even really thinking about it, like there was the joke. Okay, cool, that's
Yeah.
funny. I'm a bad guy. In the match, amateur background, we're wrestling, and I shoot a double leg takedown. Boom, he grabs the ropes, and I just went like 2 points, right? In wrestling. And the whole crowd goes, two. So I stopped, and I did it back to them, and they did it back and forth. So I hit him with a suplex, and I went, two scoops. And the whole crowd went, two scoops. And I was like, oh, this isn't
You
good,
got it right there.
So it was an accident, but I was still a bad guy. And then where it really popped off was in training. I was messing around with it a little bit, like, oh, that was kind of cool, one time thing. That was weird. Maybe it was just the crowd. It was at a bar. I had a pre-show match in Los Angeles for PCW Ultra, and this show is a stacked card. I mean, it's Njpw, Psycho Clown, print all these like phenomenal wrestlers, Sin Bodhi, and so I'm blessed enough to have the opening match in the pre-show.
Yeah,
and at this point, it's my first time ever being a single wrestler, so not tag team, singles as a babyface. I've done singles as a heel, and I mostly did tag team, but it's my first time on my own, singles one-on-one as a babyface. And I just go out to the crowd, and first one out, we lock up. He has a short tackle. I don't bump. I go to his face, say two scoops. The entire crowd, two scoops right after. And that was the first time they've ever met me. Drop down, leap on, give him the tackle. Boom, he takes it. Two scoops. Boom, echoed. And from that point, I just started feeling the confidence. So every time he had me down and I kick out at two, I throw up the ref will count one, two. I kick out two, and the whole crowd will go scoops, and they hijacked it. So every other close fall, two count for the rest of the night was two scoops for every single match from the opening match of the pre-show
That
to
is
the Psycho
awesome.
Clown versus Fatu match. And then it led. So, back in Arizona, I kind of fled in. I'm in a tag team over there. It changed our whole gimmick. Crowd over there ate it up. They've never seen that before. PCW, Phoenix Championship Wrestling, they ate it up. And then I went to Albuquerque as a singles competitor with a two-scoop gimmick. I didn't, brand new crowd, crazy about it. So, all right, this is cool. I did it from Nevada. And at this point, nobody knew who I was. I have the whole entire crowd with the two scoop count. And it's just catchy, I think it is. So it all kind of happened by accident, but it's been tried and tested, over 13 different promotions and over 7 different states. And every single time, the crowd has reacted to it in some sort of way.
Oh, you're onto something when you're going to a new spot and it gets just as over off of that first time there as it would be, your normal spots.
And what's interesting too is they're all different crowds. So like the ultra crowd, that's a very smart mark kind of super indie crowd. Their chants are phenomenal. It's my favorite place to wrestle. They did the scoop forever every time I'm out there. They do scoop there it is. Awesome stuff. So that they love wrestling. They're a wrestling crowd. Well, in Phoenix, it is a family friendly crowd. In Ultra, they drink beer, they pregame, they love that. It's literally the friends and family. We packaged, we got almost 700 people this last show in Phoenix. and it's just an intimate family fun setting, and I move over there. Flip that in Albuquerque, we do it in the historic El Rey Theater, and that is kind of just people that don't care about wrestling, but it's a party crowd. There's two bars, one upstairs, one outstairs, and another third one outside of the venue, and a liquor store on the other side of the venue. So these people are just there to party on downtown on a Friday night, Saturday night, and they love it as well. So I'm hitting all different types of the spectrum of fans and crowds and audiences, and I'm getting a reaction from each one. So I think I'm doing something right there.
Oh yeah, no, I would definitely say so. And you know, one more thing, because we kind of talked a little bit about them with Arizona. I've been lucky enough to have a few people from there, coming on the show. One of them actually being Gabriel. I had him on God dang, I'm getting inching closer to 300 episodes. So
that's awesome.
Some of them that were a little bit further back, the exact time frame gets a little fuzzy, but that was a fun one. Actually, damn, now that I think about it, last I checked on the YouTube channel, it was actually popping up on the suggested the intro that I had him do.
Sweet.
So I was like, all right.
Yeah, cool.
And you mentioned being part of a tag team, and those that might not be as familiar with the Phoenix Championship Wrestling, as I'm not saying I'm extremely knowledgeable on the product, but with the people I've had on, I know a little bit about a little bit. Your Facebook profile picture is actually of you with the tag title belt.
Correct, yeah.
Now, what do you, and for those that know, they're outside of your general area, what do you have going on there and, with the title?
Sweet. Yeah, so we've been champions since July, so we're coming up on a year. And that was another thing where so this is what happened, how we became a tag team, really. Is I was in a heel tag team with another guy. He was in a babyface tag team with another guy. One guy got hurt, the other guy couldn't make it. Hey, you guys need a spot. So we just put us together on the fly. And it was kind of like you guys just do the job, whatever we got, we didn't think anything of it. My partner's name is Michael, Njpw. He's such a character. He's all personality. He's probably in person or in general just the funniest person I've ever met. Smart, nerdy, but very knowledgeable. And then I just would feed off of his energy. And I needed that, really. It accelerated me because I was boring, if I'm being honest. I was just, backbreakers, scoop slam, flex. But at this point, it was, backbreaker, scream in your face, two scoops, flex, and then this guy's yelling and screaming. So we fed off of each other. Mm-hmm. And it was the whole idea. First, he was still a baby face, and I was a bad guy. So we were a tag team that wasn't fully to get working together. That's why we would lose. And we actually wrestled Gabriel Gallo. So what happened was we made a finishing move in training one day. So I don't know if you've seen it yet. It's a torture rack, and then I hit the ropes and I give him a shoulder tackle, flips his leg around, flips up in the air. So it looks brutal. It is devastating.
It sounds brutal, just the description of it.
I could send you some footage. I have compilation videos of him.
Definitely.
Boom. Crazy. Hits the floor. Boom. It's our finishing move. We wrestled Gallo, and he loved our finish. And he's like, you know what? These guys are onto something. Let's put him in a tag team tournament. We got eliminated first round. Okay, whatever. But we're an established team, kind of. At this point, crowd loved us. Mm-hmm. Crowd wanted to see us win because we're hitting these cool moves. We're characters. And we just, there was so many different directions we could have gone. And it was just natural that him and I just became best friends.
It's funny how some stuff like that comes up because I'm trying to remember. It was there was a few examples in like the original ECW where like they, you know, in other places they'd have people that had such chemistry going up against each other that in ECW they put in a tag team and then boom, became one of the most popular ones they had.
Mm-hmm. And that's what's kind of really cool is speaking of original ECW, the last PCW show, Jasmine St. Clair actually jumped me and Mike with the chair and beat the crap out of us with the chair after our match. So we'll see what happens next there. But no, it is just the chemistry with him because we've wrestled in other promotions with each other. Matter of fact, we're number one contenders in Tucson, so it's a completely different atmosphere out there compared to Phoenix. It's kind of crazy for how close they are. Wrestling is night and day. Well, Rockstar Wrestling Alliance is similar to Albuquerque. I was talking about. It's a party crowd, and we're actually going to be wrestling for the championship belts coming up at the end of the month, the 29th, Saturday the 29th. So it's kind of cool to see how the chemistry we've had from accident taking us to other places, and we found success everywhere.
That is awesome. Love hearing about stuff like that. And I'm trying to remember who some of the other people I've had on from Phoenix Championship Wrestling, because I know there's been a couple. Like I said, with the amount of episodes I've done, the further back they go, it's like, okay, I know I've talked to this person, I just can't remember when.
Right.
But now I wanted to ask about this Denver trip. We talked a little bit about it, but how did that go for people, that will get introduced to you through this episode? How did that trip go?
It's so awesome. So it was my third time out there, I believe, or fourth, maybe third. It's Rocky Mountain Pro. So that is a prestigious school. It's D'Lo Brown, part of the Al Snow Learning Tree. It's Sin Bodhi, Marty the Moth. The guy writing the show is Vince Russo. So I got to rub shoulders with Vince Russo all weekend. Had any questions about my matches? Hey, D'Lo. He's such an awesome guy, D'Lo Brown, where my first time ever out there, he pulled me aside and gave me advice. And my cat's trying to trap some plastic. I'm sorry. Crazy. But there's just so many resources out there. And they have a whole studio that they do TV taping in. And it's the setup is phenomenal. This is the TV production, the lights, the cameras, the picture itself, and then the talent. Those guys train so much and they get so many reps. The last time I was in Denver, I believe I wrestled 7 different matches within 3 days.
All right.
Flew back to Albuquerque or Salt Lake to Albuquerque, drove from Albuquerque to Las Cruces, wrestled again, in Las Cruces, and came back. So I'm just getting all these reps, and I can honestly say my confidence is building wrestling. Like last night, I wrestled Marty the Moth.
Nice.
Marty House, tore it up, easiest, funnest match I've ever had in my life, and it just gave me like, oh, I can hang with him. But also like it's coming up to me, telling me like, pleasure to work with you. I'm like, dude, pleasure to work with you. And he's like, you made my job easy. I'm like, you made my job easy. So this last trip specifically, it's because I just moved to Albuquerque in February. I was living in Phoenix for the past 4 to 5 years. All my friends that I'm really close with, they're still in Phoenix, which Phoenix from Albuquerque is about 6 hours. So what they do is they drive from Phoenix to Albuquerque. They'll get a little bit of sleep. I'll make them breakfast, and then we'll go from Albuquerque to Denver. That's another 6 hours. So it's the perfect middle ground for them to get some rest and go. It's halfway break.
Oh yeah,
and that's the rest of what we've been doing with those guys. So, the group of guys that I train with over there, they'll come, bring their car here. We'll take my car from there, split the miles, boom, and we just have fun. The first night, Friday night, was at the Beer Stout Lager downtown Denver, first Friday event, and that is besides PCW Ultra, I always get the number one favorite, and that's just my personal bias. That show is my second favorite place to wrestle because it's such a pure wrestling crowd. It's over 600, 700 people screaming for every little thing, and each time I've gone, the first time I got over with him a little bit. Next time, oh, I remember him. This time
That
they were
little
going crazy. Yeah. So the Friday night was awesome. I did a battle royal. I went and I gave 5 straight scoop slams, and they lost their mind. Speaking of Stone Cold Steve Austin earlier, I get eliminated, whatever. These fans had these pitchers of beer, and I had him count down from 8 for me, couldn't finish it, and they gave me a second one. So I just straight up Stone Cold Steve Austin 2
Ah,
one
Stone Cold.
beer.
Oh.
Boom. Everyone in the match stopped and popped because they were like, "That's awesome." Matter of fact, I gotta wash my gear. It's still a little bit wet from that beer. I took 3 different singlets. Good thing. So the Friday night was awesome. Couldn't complain about that. Saturday and Sunday were TV tapings. So those are all day type of a deal. You're doing pre-tapes, you're doing matches, you're doing post matches, interviews, XYZ. And I've had times where I've had one match. I've had times where I've had a pre-show match. And then I've had times where I've had 3 matches in those times. So and they air every Tuesday. So I had a couple matches, and I can honestly say that everyone I worked with was really good.
That's awesome.
They take pride in their work there. They're a solid unit in Rocky Mountain Pro. That's a place that I highly, if you're interested in becoming a wrestler, my 2 places I'm gonna tell you is Arizona Pro Wrestling Center because they're very serious, and then the Rocky Mountain Pro Wrestling School because they are on it. They work so much that they know what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And this, I mean, Mercury Aiden, who's been in the business forever, phenomenal in the ring. D'Lo Brown, Vince Russo, Sin Bodie, Marty the Moth. Like, I have all their personal phone numbers now, and it's kind
Nice.
of like, hey, is anything? And I'm always asking for feedback. I'm a student of the game, so after no matter who I wrestle, I make sure I ask them what could I do better. What did you think about this? Can we do this next? Let's watch the match back, please. And I feel like I'm progressively getting better. And so it felt really good to wrestle good talent because then
Oh,
I felt better. So I came home feeling, I just got home about 20, 30 minutes ago.
I was gonna say, yeah, you were talking about having still been on the road, and
Yeah.
you bring up Marty the Moth. I'm actually more towards the end of the month. I'm actually gonna be recording with him,
Sweet. Fun
and
fact
that.
about him. Gabriel Gallo and him used to be tag team partners back in the day.
Oh.
Gabriel trained me. That's it. And then we're all take a whole connection. Ask him all about it. Ask him about Two Scoops and Gabriel Gallo.
I will have to do that because, yeah, he randomly one week followed the podcast Instagram page. I'm like, me being the big Lucha Underground fan that I was, I'm like, I'm going to shoot my shot here.
Former champion.
And then it just happened. Like, I've had another California guy. I think he went by Mr. Cisco, but more known as Lil Cholo.
I know exactly. So, yeah, I'm good friends with him, too. He has his own school up there.
Oh, yeah. They do amazing stuff. And the other one that I was particularly fond of when I got to have him on, Famous B, got to have him on. And if you remember Lucha Underground, there's those promos that he did where I forget what the numbers were, but it was like 4, 2, 3, get fame.
Mm-hmm.
And like, obviously, at some point during the interview, I was like, oh, that'd be cool if we actually got to have him break that out. I didn't even ask. He did it during the intro thing that I had on record.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just sitting there like, I am trying not to make it too obvious, but like the grin on my face was just like, holy shit, that was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love Lucha Underground. So when I was in high school, I just came across it by accident. I actually saw the very first episode in Spanish on the Spanish TV, Chavo Girl versus Blue Demon Jr. My dad was working outside in the yard, and I was like, check this out. It's like a old school novella with the acting. It's very cheesy. I love it. And then I watched it and I was blown away. I was like, this is awesome. What's Chavo been up to? Whatever. I actually just I just talked to him, got his phone number. He wrestled at Comic Con 2 weeks ago in
Okay.
Phoenix. Awesome
Nice.
over there. And he was there and he just, talked to him. Yeah. He saw him. He was like, oh, you have to be a wrestler. And I'm like, yes, sir. Like he spotted me out and he's like talking with me back and forth and gave me his card and everything. And he's offered his help and everything. Um, but yeah, and then I really love Lucha Underground was on All Right Network. And my dad and I would watch it every Wednesday night. And matter of fact, I have the shirt and everything. And so to be able to wrestle Marty the Moth is like, dude, you know?
Yeah.
But even like back to PCW Ultra, all those guys, Strickland, who is now the AEW champion, he was Killshot. He was
Yep.
the Ultra champion whenever I first went out there, Pentagon, he always on Lucha Underground, boom, big out there, now in AEW. So like I'm on these shows with these guys. I remember my first one a couple weeks in Arizona, Lucha Boss was there. It was Brian Cage, and I have pictures of the Drago and Aerostar, and I'm like, and I was talking about this with Marty yesterday at the picnic table, and I told him this is my opinion, and I told him I personally believe that Lucha Underground was probably the biggest platform within the last 20 years for these wrestlers to get their start. Because if you look at AEW and WWE right now, all of these guys at one point or another all worked in Lucha Underground, and that gave them their first kind of taste of national television, and social media started growing really big then.
Oh, yeah.
And we're just naming them all. Santos Escobar. Oh, that was, King Cuerno. And, going back and forth. Strange Strickland. He was blah, blah, blah. And we're
Prince
talking about
Puma.
it. Like, literally, yeah. And we just, and then we are thinking about it. And he started naming like all the people. He was like, dude, we had like Jack Swagger. We had like Sammy Guevara and all these people. And I was like, yeah, people forget about that. But it's kind of crazy how fast and quickly it grew. And I'm really, really disappointed with it leaving because that would be a place I would love to freaking work. Like
Oh, yeah, it was kind of a bummer for me because that last episode kind of ended on like, oh, they're gonna do more. They're just gonna come back, like then they never did, and it's like, but
I
then you
keep my
hear,
ears open, man.
oh yeah, no, that would be awesome if they bring that back. Although I do know that the guy that played Daria Cueto is actually with MLW now.
Exactly, yeah. He's like a same kind of character there.
Kind of,
And,
yeah, pretty much.
and I know a lot of MLW guys because one Hammerstone trains at our school.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We have 12-inch pictures of us and a 12-foot poster of Hammerstone in our school. And I'm not exaggerating by any means. Back to Ultra for the fourth, fifth time. This is my favorite place to work. Joseph Samael Contra. He's the main guy at Ultra. He Contra, Fatu. I've been able to share a locker room with Fatu in 3 different states: Arizona, New Mexico, California, and there was times where he just FaceTiming Rikishi. He's like, "Hey, Two Scoops, come here, come along. All right, what's up, man? Nice to meet you. Awesome dude. I'm waiting. Can't wait to see what he does next. He's just a world of
Oh yeah.
But so I know a lot of people that work in MLW. Tito Escondido, I get my signets, the person he gets his signets from, because I met him in a locker room. Bad dude Tito.
Bad dude Tito, yep. But I definitely remember him. Like, oh god, I'm trying to remember where I know I've seen some of the New Japan stuff. Seeing him pop up.
Awesome, dude. He was like the only wrestler that like he wrestled at the Rose Bowl, and then he wrestled in New Japan and AEW within like 3 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the same show at Ultra or Phoenix where I was at, like someone was telling me about it and like he was like the only wrestler to like do like the SoFi Stadium, the Rose Bowl, and because he did like for the Rams, he did like a wrestling halftime thing, and then he did like New Japan, and then he did like the Lakers Stadium, like all within like a month, and then the Rose Bowl. Like this guy's just
crazy,
phenomenal.
Oh yeah, that PCW Ultra, well, I'm trying to, god dang, again, the fuzziness of it, but one of the big tag teams out there, Christopher Landon, Anthony Streeter, I think. But
Yep, that's
I had
exactly who it is.
yep, I had him on, and man, props to him because during the middle of his episode, my wife came down, and my wife and I had a Great Dane at the time, and she was acting a little off, and she came down, and I could just see the look on her face. I'm like, I looked at him, I'm like, I think I have to go. And man, we literally like a day or two later just finished it up. But yeah, nothing but respect for him. And
He was actually with me in Denver this past weekend. I actually just spent the weekend with him in Denver. Yeah, so he was in the Rocky Mountain tapings too.
oh, nice. And
So many fun facts about.
oh
I'm so
yeah,
sorry. So
oh
he's our PCW Phoenix Championship Wrestling. He's our heavyweight champion. He's
oh,
never lost in Arizona. He's undefeated. He's never ever lost a match in Arizona.
hmm.
Um, he is red hot killing it, and his tag team partner is Devin Reno, who
Yeah,
we came up together. We're the same age. We trained at their school together, and he is every time I've ever done a podcast, interview, radio show, every single time I call him out. I've called him out on microphones after shows. Get me in the ring with him. I've messaged promoters. Put me and Devin in the ring together. We'll tear it down. Yeah. It still hasn't happened yet. But here I am with Drinking with Mo. I'm calling it right now, Drinking and Mo's. Tommy Two Scoops versus Devin Reno. Any place,
yes,
anytime, anywhere. Let's make it happen. Because I
yeah. We need
guarantee
to.
you we could blow the roof off.
Oh yeah, we
Um,
need to make that damn thing happen. Now,
I'm telling you, everywhere I've been, I've said it, and I keep
now,
throwing it out in the universe.
now, there was a show that the reason this one jumped out to me was kind of twofold. One, it it was advertised that it sold out, and two, it was actually on my anniversary for
Okay.
Phase One Pro,
Yeah. That
June
is
1st. That so it's already happened, but I that was my 5th anniversary. That
congratulations.
night.
Awesome.
Thank you. So
I'm
how
coming
was
up on my
that?
second. So phenomenal. I worked every phase one show so far. They're a young company, but it's a rebirth of a that one I was talking about. I saw Turbo Tony, Destiny
Mm,
Wrestling. This is like a rebirth from that. So it's
okay.
full circle. The best. New Mexico wrestling fans are the best. And I feel bad for the people that are in this state that don't necessarily get to, I'm not going to say be on the shows, but experience the love because it's unlike any other place. It's like it's home. That's what I'm trying to say is it New Mexico wrestling died for a long time because the commission we have here it's cost like $6,300 bare minimum to even put on a show, no
Hmm.
matter what size or caliber. It is price gouging beyond measures, and the commission doesn't really care. You know, they come in a locker room like, is this for the wrestling thingy? Like, they don't even know what wrestling is. And so every night we have to prove ourselves. It's not only like up against the commission, really. And there's certain people that have certain feelings about them that aren't respectful. But no, that's not phase one. Doctor comes in, commissioner goes, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. It's polite. It's what can we, because we don't want to have that negative connotation with the guys in charge. I've been in other locker rooms where there's wrestlers that here comes the commission and start being, don't allow them in the backstage, don't let them in the locker room, blah, 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 let's talk back to them. Like, no, because then they're literally in charge. Like, how dumb can you be? Am I saying I'm for the commission? Absolutely not. But I do think I have respect for them.
Yeah.
Do I think they have to be that expensive? No. But do I think they should be in place? Absolutely. I think we should all get blood work. We should all have physicals. I think as a wrestler, if you're not doing that, you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
I want to get to the next level. So this holds me accountable. At phase one, I'm lucky and fortunate enough to say I'm undefeated over there, and I've been in all of their main events. Um, except for the very first wrestling. So we did one in Pino in Arizona, and that was the smallest wrestling cut I've ever wrestled in front of, but it was the most fun I've ever had up to that point. But it was in a little reservation town where literally 100 feet away, a varsity football game was playing. There was 300 people, 400 people over there, and we had about maybe 100 in ours. So they split the night on us, and they moved the date on us without problem. Devin Reno was on that show, by the way. Called him out there for the first time. um, he was the main event that time. I was so we ran a show in Grants, New Mexico. I was the main event. I got to wrestle Don Battalion, my trainer. One of the most special nights of my life. That was kind of like my send off of like, congratulations, you passed. 30 minutes of him beating the crap out of me. Like somehow got the win. And phase one gave me a microphone, and I called out Devin Reno. But I they put it. They after the match, everyone was just thanking me, and all the other wrestlers and people in the back, and Dex and Carney and the guys that run it, are just like, dude, you're awesome. Like it's like it made me feel good for the first time, thinking, oh, like I did it in my hometown almost. So then they wanted to do a show in Rio Rancho, and this was actually probably in April or March, April. The first one in the Albuquerque area. We sold it out. It was insane. And I was the main event. I wrestled Ocean Avery, who was phenomenal in the ring, so talented. Big, scary looking dude, strong style guy. And we went 20 minutes, tore it up, main event, got the victory. They gave me a microphone. Boom. Called out Devin Reno. And then this last time we did a gauntlet match, main event, and I was fortunate enough to win the gauntlet as well. So they're really putting me over. They're pushing me real hard. And I believe that it's a place where I do belong. I feel like I work so hard for that. I work at 2 times a day, train 3 to 4 times a week in the ring. I everything I do is really based around professional wrestling. Sometimes it drives my wife crazy. She hardly sees me, and I sacrifice so much for this. And I find it disrespectful sometimes when I work so hard for very little results. And that's like a place that is putting all the eggs in my basket. And, I'm their main eventer. I'm undefeated. I'm red hot over there. And what's really cool about phase one, not to talk about myself anymore, because it's really all them. It's really all them.
Yeah.
Is I made sure I tell everyone thank you. Because the amount of stuff you could learn. This last show they asked about specifically, we had wrestlers from my school, the Arizona Pro Wrestling Training Center. We had SCW, their head coaches from Arizona. We had the head coach from the Lubbock School, Phoenix. We had some guys from Colorado. We had Off the Ropes, their head trainer, Gino Rivera. We had his dude. We had Devotion Championship Wrestling, their owner, head trainer, Manny Lemons. Resources galore.
Oh, yeah.
A stacked locker room. And then before the show, they said, well, our point that we want to make is to put a younger guy with a more experienced guy to get him there. Everyone learns. So, like, I sat at the table talking with Phoenix, and we watched every match together. And I asked him a million questions, and, he invited me to go wrestle his next show and XYZ. And, like, that's what wrestling's all about.
No, yeah.
And the atmosphere is, for being a little Elks Lodge, and, you hear the old whatever Elks Lodge, they transformed that place. It sold out again, and I'm not in like over 300-400 people, to the point where we had to turn people away both times. That's a good problem to have, but it sucks. You never want to turn anyone away. I would hate to be out in the sun and get turned away, but it's at that point where, hey, you got to get your tickets when you can, because I know for a fact our next show is August 24th, and we have big things they're going to announce, and it's only getting bigger and bigger. You're doing the right thing when you can sell out multiple times in a row. And Phoenix Championship Wrestling, I wrestle there, they're doing the same thing. PCW Ultra sells out every time. Duke City Championship Wrestling, we sold this last time we had a show, we broke our attendance record where, at the Al Ray, 600 some people couldn't let any more in. So I'm very proud of where I work. And where I work, I'm very picky about where I work too. And everywhere I work, I can honestly say they're doing the right things, And that's why, like, this Rocky Mountain Pro, it was a no-brainer for me to. I went for the first time, with a friend, and they used the shit out of me, and they're like, "Hey, I like this guy." And then they started like adding me on Instagram and stuff, and all of a sudden it's like, here's a lot of money, more than I was expecting. Here's the Venmo, and here's your gas mileage, and here's this per match. And I was like, other wrestlers I know from New Mexico that are telling me about it, because I've asked about it. We're like, yeah, it's a lot of exposure bucks. I'm like, for you maybe, because they paid me a lot of money, and I don't want to get into all that specifics, but like, if I'll go back again then. Oh, I'll go back again then. And each time the crowd has gotten more familiar with me. And I was sitting next to the table with class, Christopher Lane and Anthony Streeter, selling merchandise. We were making so much money, like compared to everyone else there in a way, like different, fresh meat to that audience. I don't know, but like that guy sells 8x pens for $20, and he was nonstop people coming up to him. He's a star. He's, what I'm saying, like he's someone, and I'll honestly say this: he's young, he's dashing, he's a doctor, he's everything. I could sincerely say I could see him on the next level within the next 2 or 3 years. And the only thing that will hold him back is possibly himself. But he's so smart, so dedicated. Like he's and everyone asks about him. No matter where I'm at, everyone always asks about him. He's our leader. He's our heavyweight champ, but like more so than that, like he holds himself to a standard that I would like to be at sometimes.
Oh yeah. And it was interesting when I had him on, because I guess I didn't realize that we actually both had a little bit of a thing in common, and that being Nebraska, because he had some schooling out in Kearney, Nebraska, which is like literally 2, maybe 3 hours at the most from where I live right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when he mentioned that, I'm like, no kidding.
Mm-hmm.
The small world right there.
One thing I remember for the first time I ever passed through Nebraska was there was like a whole lot of nothing, right? And then all of a sudden, a giant football stadium, massive football stadium, and then nothing again. I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I know right where you're talking about, because, more out west, it's a whole lot of nothing. But then you get, right entering into Lincoln, and then boom, there's Memorial Stadium. Then a little more time of a little bit of nothing, but then boom, you're hitting Omaha, and then that's pretty much how Nebraska is.
And I like, so even in Kansas, it stood out. There's a place called Junction City, Kansas.
Yeah, I know.
There's a military base and everything there too, I believe. That was the most charming little town to this day. 6 years later, I tell my wife, let's retire out there. That's like my kind of living. She's not a fan of tornadoes, but
yeah.
And I played rugby tournaments in like Des Moines, Iowa, right? Loved it there. Beautiful place. So I'm excited to be back in Iowa. I've never been to Cedar Rapids. It's SCW, so I believe it's not South Plains. Might be. It's where Seth Rollins got his start, where he first trained.
I know right where you're talking about. I've actually had, his school, Black and Brave Academy. I've actually had the Brave of Black and Brave Academy on. He was one of my like early episodes.
Good. Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm so excited to be out there. I have 2 shows. I have a lucha show and then like a pay-per-view type of deal. I just got the flyers this last week, so I can't wait to be back. And it's a small world from football and rugby, because I've met friends from playing rugby that I've been friends with on social media and that are going to be there. So, I get to see my friends again for the first time in a while.
That is going to be awesome.
Cool and it's cool to be connected in so many ways.
Oh, yeah. All those little connections you can build out there. All right. Now, I got 2 categories here. First one's a bit of a name game where I name off some people. You give me quick thoughts on each one of them once I give you the name. And I try to theme it towards the guess as much as possible. So each of these guys, at least as far as what I was able to look up online, they all have the Southwest in common. Like they got their start there. That's where they grew up. Some sort of connection with the Southwest. First one, we've kind of brought him up a little bit. Hammerstone.
Ooh, meat, muscle. So smart. He's if it's class number two, Hammerstone number one. My first ever time going to Ultra was actually in the same car as him. The night he won the heavyweight championship, and dedication is the best one word I could describe to him. No, nobody works harder than him, and I'm serious. You know, Josh Alexander is wrestling probably number two, works as hard as him. No one works as hard as Hammerstone. The first word I could think of is dedication and meat. You know, that guy's he sees me staring at him at training whenever he's there because you just look at him and he's a freaking specimen. You know, he's I can't thank him enough for all the time he's took when I was just beginning how to do rolls and lockups, and he didn't have to, but he taught me or jumped in. You know, not that he specifically trained me all the way, but like when I really didn't know how to do something, let me teach you something. Him, Graves, you know, like didn't have to do that, but they did. So I think the role of him, he deserves everything and more. And Impact Wrestling has been red hot since getting him, and he turned MLW upside down, inside out, and he's a key player. And wherever he ends up next is very, very lucky.
Oh yeah, and you know, both of those two places that you mentioned, MLW and I guess TNA Impact, however you want to. Two of the most criminally underrated promotions out there. Like, you watch the shows. I've been lucky enough to have a few people on that have gone through either or. Like, one of the more recent ones, Akira, I had him on, and that was fun. And, you know, going back and watching some of his stuff. But man, the way the crowds react at both places, and you know, just the quality alone in like the in-ring product is just some of the most consistent stuff out there. And it's
TNA
just
has always been my favorite, always.
Oh yeah, and it's just sad that, you know, either one of them doesn't have a bigger platform to showcase their stuff on. But still, if you're able to catch their stuff, I am not words are hard. I do not find myself being disappointed very much, if at all, watching either one of those.
No, not at all. Not at all. And they both have like things like on TV, but it's kind of you have to look for a little bit. And from a worker standpoint, someone that's been in the business since around 2019 when I started training, I will say like those shows are very hard to get on. And I don't mean that like, oh, I need a spot. I mean like the amount of talent. Yeah, each person, NWA, for example, big fan of NWA right now. Matter of fact, we're gonna be working a little bit with them at Duke State Championship Wrestling. Nice. But they're just the amount of talent, the people on those shows are freaking like insanely good, and it just gives you a perspective of like the levels of pro wrestling. You know, and like I'm not saying that I'm like at a certain level, but it gives me a good peace of mind of like where I'm close to, you know, and I'm not here anymore, and I'm not here anymore, but I'm close to here, you know.
Yeah.
And it's a goal, you know. Like Tito, talking about him earlier, like he's killing it on those places, and I'm like, he's so much better than me, but he's someone that I model myself after, and I'm not going to stop until I get to his level, you know. And it's motivation to get there.
Oh yeah, totally. All right, next one. It's interesting what they're having him do in WWE right now, but I've always been a huge fan of his. Karrion Kross.
It's like the third callback to Gallo, but I remember watching on YouTube when I first started training Killer Kross versus Gabriel Gallo. Phenomenal match. It's available on YouTube if you want to check it out. They just tear each other apart. What did you expect from that? Um, Dude, killer. My first ever time going back that same trip at Ultra. First guy I went when I walked in the building was Karlian Cross, sitting there on the stage. Coolest guy. What's your name? Nice to meet you. Like genuine. Who did he work that night? Trying to remember who he wrestled that night. But he was there.
But yeah, I just remember, I've heard a lot of stuff like what you've said, getting to meet him, and it just reminds me of like the interaction I had with Swerve. I didn't get to have him on the show, which I would not be disappointed if I got to, but it was right around the time he was really getting like switching over to like a heelish sort of character and really playing one sadistic son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
But man, the time it was in Des Moines at a show for Sammy Callahan's promotion, Revolver.
Yep.
And I was like walking to my car, and all of a sudden, boom, there's somebody filming a promo in the parking lot. I get closer, and it's Swerve. So I'm like, I had the figure that I was wanting to get signed, which is right here. But I was like, okay, I will stand back a little bit. I'll let him finish his promo, and then, and knowing how he can play one sadistic son of a bitch, talking to him the nicest ever. And the other guy that I can think of, kind of along the same route, Bronson Reed.
Okay. Yeah.
I actually, at a show for Warrior Wrestling, I got invited to be a part of the Fan Fest, and he was going up against Jeff Cobb that night.
Jeez.
Oh, God, I'm telling you, one of my favorite matches I've ever seen in person. But
yeah,
like right after the Fan Fest ended, he gave me like a window until like he had to literally go and get his gear on. But I had that solid window right there where we did like a shorter episode, but I still gotta say that I had him on. And his opponent that night, another one of my my hobbies, I love getting figures signed that if they're still with us. Boom, Jeff Cobb right there.
That's crazy. Jeff Cobb is Lucha Underground again.
Yeah, like the monster.
Yeah, Matanza. Yeah, but phenomenal freaking talent. Like, he's one of my dream matches.
Oh yeah.
I can wrestle two people right now: it's Samoa Joe or Jeff Cobb. Those are my two people.
Either one of those. Damn, that would be
something. Dream match. Sure.
Oh man, I've always wanted to meet Samoa Joe. Never had the opportunity yet. But Jeff Cobb, dude, one of the nicest dudes. And that match with Bronson Reed, he was going by Jonah at the time. Yep. But man, I was close enough, dude. Them chopping each other and seeing the individual beads of sweat just flying off, and then seeing Jeff Cobb literally lift Jonah up and suplexing him. I'm like, God damn.
Jeff Cobb and Alexander Hammerstone are the two strongest guys in wrestling today.
Oh,
those are the two strongest guys in wrestling today.
Oh, most definitely. Next one, I got a funny story that I'll tell, but doing pretty good with teaming up with Shayna Baszler right now, but Zoe Stark.
I met her my very, very first kind of time in Arizona when I just moved there. I wasn't even working. I was helping out ring crew at Championship Wrestling for Arizona. And she walks in, and I'm just, how can I help you? Whatever. And so awesome, phenomenal person. Hey, where's the locker room? I can show you. Talking it up with me, and how's. asking me when I'm in. I've just met. I just started wrestling. I don't know anything. Give me a second. Um, Phenomenal person. Her style stands out so much because you wouldn't think, a little, well, not saying that little girl, but like a small petite girl could, give her that vibe, and she definitely has that
Oh
killer
yeah.
mentality. Um, Big fan of her because I met her around that time. Same thing with like Steppa too. You know, like met him. Was it? Oh, Solo Sokoa, I guess is his name
Mm,
now.
yeah.
Like I met him in Arizona locker room, and he was so freaking cool. And like inviting and just like I didn't have to be nice to me. Like I just started training, and both
Yeah.
of them were just like professional to the core. That's why I'm not surprised they're both where they're at now,
Mm.
because and that's not long ago. It's just 2019, 2020, early 2020, and like they're the way they treated the business. That's why they are where they are now, because
Oh yeah.
they're professionals.
I'm trying to remember which show this was. It might have been the Royal Rumble. But I'm having a brain fart on it right now. But I remember when she came out, and she doesn't really have it anymore, but she used to have, it was like a jacket, but one of the sleeves was just, there was only one sleeve basically. And I remember I think I definitely I put it on TikTok where I was like, I'm a big fan, but then I'm like, with that jacket, it's got me thinking. And then I I stitched in the little clip from, I think it was Family Guy, where the old guy's like looking at this little person, trying to be politically correct there, but the old guy just looks at the little person's like, "Where's the rest of you?" And I like
Yeah,
that with the jacket.
right.
Like I couldn't help myself because I'm like, I'm the goofball like that.
And I'm sure she found humor in that because she was so joyful and everything when I met her. Like I love to see her succeed. She's
No,
someone I always cheer for from afar and stuff. And it's kind of cool to see these people in the same shows that I'm on, having so much success. Like
oh yeah.
for like Jigapot too. Waited for him to do his thing, and like literally I'm tickling his feet. So I go and tickle his feet every time I see him, and he's always got two scoops every time, and like I've shared meals with him and stuff, and it's kind of crazy how what wrestling will do. Like
Mm.
transform your life. Like if you would have told me yesterday that I would have had lunch with Marty the Moth, like, oh, I did that. You know, we were supposed to go hit the gym, but Marty, whenever you hear this, whenever you see this, just know I'm disappointed you didn't make it to the gym with me early in the morning. It's not his fault. His people he was with chose sleep over the gym, but I'm not gonna let it down with him. Um,
Oh. But I was just thinking, oh damn, now I think I might have lost my train of thought. Oh, the whole thing with the joke about the jacket. I'm the type of fan that, like, at the shows, it is my mission to get somebody to crack, whether it's a wrestler, referee, manager, whatever. And I've never really been that close at a national TV show that I've, to even remotely get a chance at doing it. But it happened at that Collision show that I went to, because the Dynamite before, Tony Storm was, being on commentary for Mariah May's match, and she started talking about slapping the tits off her. Well, it came a point during her match on Collision where I found this moment where it was quiet. They just, like, people just got done cheering, and all of a sudden I just yelled out, "Slap her tits off!" And Luther, I looked over and I see him just go, hmm? I'm like, yes,
Autumn.
made my night.
Mhm.
Because I'm just a goofball like that, which feeds into something that I can talk about later. But the last guy on the name game list that I had, hell, we were just talking about him, Njpw.
Man, I can't say enough positive things about that man. We had him here in Albuquerque at Duke City Championship Wrestling, and he tore the house down, like so effortlessly. And like I said, those fans are party people. They don't care about wrestling really. There's a select few. Like I said, we have our Albuquerque, New Mexico fans that love wrestling. That's about 40, 50 people. We're packing 600 plus in these buildings, right? The rest of these people, they're here for a good time. He makes it look he's so natural in the ring. Or I can't wait to see what he does next because we know where he's going. And
Yeah, we all know.
and I just can't wait because even like when I first started doing shows at Phoenix Championship Wrestling, he was just a student. He was so cool, professional. Him, Too Cold Scorpio, um, just they're true professionals, and that's the best way I could explain it. Of like, they don't have to, the rule of thumb in wrestling, you kind of in the back, you want to be polite, shake everyone's hand, introduce yourself, get to know them, and not being an asshole. And these guys are veterans and that are wrestled all over the world and come from these big lineages, and they just want to be one of the boys. And no matter where I'm at, any locker room, and whenever you talk to Jacob, or do a meeting with him, or if you ever ask him about me, he's always a person that will sit right next to me for some reason. And I'm not trying to say that any bad words, maybe you could bleep it out, but he's like, I F's with you, every time. And so I that's a personal one for me when I want to see him win so bad. Because he's someone, if I message on Instagram, he'd respond. Same thing like Tola Leona. Like he's killing AEW, but like we talk on Instagram every other week. Like about fitness and football more than anything else, not even wrestling. Yeah. But I want to see him succeed, and I want like wrestling is so awesome when you meet genuinely good people like Jacob too, who is going to tear it up. And
I'm excited to see when they finally get him out there, because this stuff that with this, I guess, new version of the bloodline they got going with Solo and Tamatanga and Tangaloa, like just seeing where that's gonna go, man, I'm excited.
And if you like Tamatanga and WWE, like that's still crazy to me,
Yeah, and there's always been those fans out there that like, oh, this person should go to WWE and blah blah blah. Well, literally up until Hunter took over, I was the one that's like, well, yeah, they got the big platform, but either stay where he's at or there's other places. But now with Hunter taking over, man, it's like just a night and day difference from where it was.
Yeah. And as a worker, it's like the land of opportunity is everywhere. Like,
yeah,
there's no better time, hotter time to be a wrestler. Like, so many good promotions. Like, NWA actually, they're partnering up with Duke City Championship Wrestling, so I'm gonna be doing some work with NWA coming up soon, and
nice.
And like that's freaking dream come true in its own right. But also like it's just a door open because the stuff they're doing is freaking insane. But yeah, like when I think of guys big in WWE, Jacob Fatu, Tito Escondido, Zoe Starks, Class, Devin Reno, those are all guys that consistently put in the work to get to that level. So some are there, some are on the way up, and within 5 years, they're all going to be there, and I can promise you that. So I'm just glad that I'm able to share whatever moments I have with them now, because until I'm with them, until I'm with them is what it's hard to keep up sometimes, but it's the truth. And right now, wrestling is the hottest it's ever been.
No,
and
yeah.
it's gonna get better and better. And now we have all these like TNA slash NXT shows. Like, come on, man, this is
Oh man, yeah. That like we could go on and on about that alone.
Mhm.
Is good grief when her and Jordan Grace and Ethan Page popped up. Like I haven't had a jaw dropping moment in the world of like national TV professional wrestling in a while.
Mhm.
That right there, twice in one night, that was nuts. All
And
right.
this is like, think about the Royal Rumble.
Oh
Remember the Royal Rumble? Like,
oh
and that
man,
was Hunter. That was Hunter's doing. You know.
yeah. And I almost like there's people that are like, oh, but uh, but it was been they've had the TNA Knockouts champ on before, but I'm like, think about this. The first person, Mickey James, she already had the WWE tie in there.
Uh huh.
Jordan Grace didn't have that.
With the freaking belt, you know.
With the, I mean, they both had the belt, but Jordan Grace didn't have that already been in WWE tie-in. Where it's
Right.
like
Right.
she is like really coming in, you know, from the outside.
But the
That
commentary team put her over, put TNA over big too.
oh, that they did, and hell, just last night with the Battleground, same thing there. So yeah, I'm excited.
I didn't have time to watch it last night because we're on the road. We were wrestling last night, so that's what I'm gonna do tonight. Is I'm gonna throw it on and pop some popcorn and we'll end up a protein shake and enjoy that, man. I can't wait for that.
Oh yeah, I still have to finish Collision because I'm wanting to see if my little slapper tits off comment actually was audible on TV. Oh my god. I'm telling you, I am gonna be like on the floor laughing if
Hmm.
I that actually came over on TV. Oh man. All right. Now I got some random questions. Some might be wrestling related, some might not be, some might have absolutely nothing to do with anything we've talked about. So I give you the question, first answer that pops into your head.
Sweet.
First one, craziest in match moment for you.
Winning the tag team titles was a surprise. We didn't know we were gonna win.
Hey, that would definitely qualify, you know, those moments where, you know, I remember one from here local that I was actually there to witness that the guy that won the title literally didn't know until he hits his finisher, he goes for the pin, and as he's, you know, pinning the guy just whispers up, "You're winning." That was the first he knew he was winning.
We didn't even get that. My reaction, and you can see it on YouTube, is I look at the ref and I just fall back, you know,
Like, did that just happen?
because my parents live in small town New Mexico. And this is big city Phoenix, and it's rare for them to make it out there. This was a show that my wife, my brother, my mom, my dad, my aunt Jessica, my Uncle John, they all got to sit front row. So that's
Mm.
special to me. Anytime I get to perform in front of my dad or my family, like that's special to me.
Oh yeah.
To be
No,
able to do it on the same show as Toa Leona and a silent audience and all this stuff, like to
yeah,
be able to
that's
be on that same card and on that same kind of caliber, like
oh yeah. No, that's something special for sure. All right, now I, you know, obviously behind me, some of my hobbies with, you know, wrestling figures, Funko Pops, and I mean, you can't see it up top there, but I collect souvenir shot glasses too. What
awesome.
is a hobby you have, if any? Because I know wrestling and the training for it and all that can take up a lot of time.
Yeah. You know, I would like to say I've had different kind of hobbies. I did the 75 hard program. With that included a lot of reading, and I really did enjoy reading. I haven't read as much since, but that's something I do really like. Um, Honestly, I've only had 3 weekends off or Saturdays off this whole year, and those Saturdays that I had off, I actually wrestled during the week, so it wasn't even like a full week off. So when I have any bit of free time, it's hanging out with my wife, and we'll go out to a movie, um, or gym dates. We go to the gym every day, no matter what, the gym date. Um, Hobbies, I like playing Pokemon when I find the time. I don't do it a lot, but I when the new games come out, I'll
Mm.
play the heck out of it. I love that. Um, I haven't played one in a while, but I always think about it. I just don't have time today to do so. But that collecting, I don't necessarily have like a full collection of figures, but I do have like the '90s ones, like the Attitude
Mm.
Era ones.
Yeah.
I love when I find those. And I like finding the weird ones. So if I can find like TNA ones or
Mm.
WCW Jack specific ones, like I like
Nice.
that. I'll collect the weird ones like that. Um, I guess the big hobbies that I've been into now too has actually been like cooking a little bit,
Okay.
experimenting, making. My wife's a really good cook, but we like to double team kind of like different projects. So we make like keto friendly or protein pasta salad and stuff. And I really enjoyed the simple things like that. I really like because we were gone since Friday at 9 in the morning. You didn't go home until Monday, and at 6, 7 p.m. And it's awesome to when I have free time to
Yeah.
just enjoy it.
Oh yeah. I do enjoy cooking. I'm nowhere near the cook my wife is, and
Oh, me neither.
oh, good look. But hey, since meeting her, my menu of stuff that I've been able to cook that'll actually turn out good has expanded a little bit.
Same here.
But man, I would love to help when my wife's cooking, but she don't want me in there with her.
Yeah, I'm fortunate enough where my wife will ask me to do something if I do this, but I enjoy it.
Yeah,
And we have
no,
a tiny little kitchen right now, and we're gonna
yeah,
eventually get a little bigger one. So at that
got,
point, we'll have our own space. But at this
gotcha,
right now, like we have to share our space.
Mm, gotcha. All right, now kind of on the food track here, with going in the gym and keeping in shape. Everybody still though has those days where it's like their cheat day.
Oh yeah.
Like hell, The Rock and some of his ones are like freaking legendary with the amount of stuff that he puts down. What would your perfect air quotes cheat day?
Ooh, this is the best question you've asked. Papa John's pizza. I'm talking load that boy up. That's like my go-to whenever we have like a free. It's rare we have a free day where I don't have to do anything, and that's always my go-to. But Papa John's pizza with the works, man. That's my like
Mm.
favorite. Um, Let me think, because I always have these big ideas of what I want to do on a cheat day, and then I get full right away. You know, honestly, really, what it is too is that my wife kind of, whatever I want, she'll make. So whatever idea I have. So when it comes to like getting creative with the cheat meal, like we used to make these crazy cool things with each other, and like there was times where we'd just go to the store. We have Fry's Supermarket in Arizona, and we'd come back and I'd have two ribeyes on the grill, and I'd have sushi right here, and she has chocolate cupcakes, and then we'd have a pizza in the oven, and we just kind of feasted out. But yeah, I can honestly say my favorite kind of cheat meal food is going to be we have here in New Mexico. I don't know if you've ever tried it. We have Dion's Pizza, and Dion's the local branch, and
Okay.
it is they're all throughout the state, but it's so good. Green chili, that's our big thing out
Mm.
here. Is
Yeah.
green chili. And so they have one called the Dion Special. It's with pepperoni, olives, well, all kinds of meats, green chili, black olives, mushrooms. Just my
Nice.
favorite. My favorite.
Hell, next time I'm out that way, I'm gonna have to give that stuff a shot.
Oh
All
yes,
right.
that's a guarantee. That's a for sure you have to do.
Oh, most definitely. I'll be putting that on my list. Now, with the name of a show like I have, I would feel weird if I didn't have this question in
Yeah.
here. Favorite drink, whether it be alcoholic or non or one of each, because hell, there's loads of people out there that for one reason or another don't drink. So
I'll do both. Let's do both.
all that.
Matter of fact, after Saturday's TV taping, I went and had a cold off the Colorado tap Coors Banquet.
Not all that is my favorite Coors one right there.
Yep. Blue Moon though, I love
Mm.
cold Blue Moon, especially in a big glass. Um, Big fan of that. Well, in college I played rugby and stuff, so we used to get the $19 30 racks, and I used to smack the Rolling Rocks, the Natural Ice, Natural Light, the Bud Ice, Bud Light. The we'd spend $20 to get 30 beers, kind of a deal.
Mhm.
I'm a big fan of beer. I'm not saying I drink all the time anymore, uh, but I like them all. I mean, I never had a beer I didn't like, if I'm being honest. Um, some IPAs taste like leather boots, but I'll still drink it.
Yeah.
Um, I favorite though of all time is going to be Coors Banquet, at the little barrel, cold, or off the tap in Colorado. It's just a different kind of. Matter of fact, I had a Boston Lager with one of my friends this weekend too, and they just hit differently after wrestling.
Oh no, yeah, I can imagine. Now, yeah, Coors Banquet definitely another one of my favorites. But the one I was drinking right now, Kona Big Wave.
Okay.
They don't sponsor me now, but I'm putting that out in the universe. I want it to happen because they are my absolute favorite.
Yeah, and I love drinks. That's like my whole thing is right here. I got full gallon, full bucked up right here. Just the amino acids, the Ponkopolis mixed together. For the gym, I drink a gallon a day. Um, I'm an ambassador for Bucked Up
Yeah.
supplements. So what I like to do is get creative with my drinks because they actually have the energy drinks. So there's actually not necessarily pre-workout, but the Bucked Up energy drinks. Every flavor is phenomenal. So my days are, and I'm not exaggerating, from 4:45 in the morning till 10:30 at night every single day, Monday through Friday, and then gone all weekend. Um, Long busy days, and those things really carry me through. So I'm lucky to get a discount on them. But lemonade, if you just good old fashioned lemonade is my favorite drink. And my wife's like,
Oh,
you talk about lemonade a lot. I'm like, Chipotle lemonade, Chick-fil-A lemonade, the diet one, that's like heaven on earth.
oh yeah, can't go wrong with a good old lemonade. Although, other than that, I am a bit of a Dr. Pepper fiend. I will admit.
Yeah, yeah. Cold Dr. Pepper, oh, nothing like it.
Oh yeah, hell, I do. Other than the original, my wife got me to switch to diet for health stuff or whatever.
Sure.
But I do enjoy the cream soda one.
Yeah.
Like make that. Oh my god, that
The
hits
strawberries and cream one too. That one's really good too.
that one, and the one that surprised me was the coconut one.
I haven't tried that
Like,
one yet.
I tried it in like the 20-ounce bottle, and I'm like, I'm not tasting the coconut.
Huh.
But then I tried it out of a can, and I'm like, okay, I can taste it there.
I'm a big fan of Pepsi Max Mango.
I've heard of it. I believe I've even seen it in a couple places, but I don't believe I've ever actually had it.
I recommend it, dude.
I might have to give it a shot next time I see it.
Especially because if you're going and I'm a big fan of like Diet Coke and Zero better than regular Coke, and I just got used to it. But like Coke Zero and well, Pepsi Max is my favorite. So Pepsi Max, like the mango one, and like now in the summers, and they really do it too. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm actually gonna go grab some of that.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely next time I'm out, I'm gonna be paying a little more attention to see if I can find some for myself.
Let me know when you do, man. Let me know when you do. I want to get your review.
I will have to do that. All right. Last but not least here, best advice you have for anybody wanting to get into wrestling.
Well, I kind of talked about it earlier, but I think it's find the school that's perfect for you. It's unfortunate, but it's true. There's a lot of for as beautiful and fun as wrestling is, and it's the coolest thing I've ever done. It's taken me all over the world. Not yet, but I mean, places I've never thought I'd be to. And I got to spend this weekend with my wife and my friends, and hanging out in Denver and drinking cold Coors beer, and like making money, coming out ahead profit wise. Is That's the dream. That's the
Oh yeah.
dream. Um, my best advice: find a school that's best for you, because there's unfortunately a lot of schools that only care about the money because it's hard to come across it, or they only have like a certain agenda in mind, or there's certain wrestlers that will do anything to try to tear you down, or to try to diminish your name because they just don't necessarily want to see you succeed.
Yeah.
So it's finding the correct group of people that you want to be with. I can say the people I was with this weekend are the people I want to be with.
Yeah.
Um, whether it be from Arizona, New Mexico, Tony from New Mexico, my guys from Arizona, and then the friends I've been in Colorado. Like, I felt the spirit with me that I was at the right place at the right time the entire weekend too. Even when I just got back, I felt like it was a success and I needed to do that.
That's awesome. And
But go ahead.
oh,
I'm so sorry. Okay, yeah. So then I think the next thing would be full send into it. I don't think there's a problem with people that. I mean, I think there's no way to fail if you give it all you got.
no, yeah. And the whole thing with the training schools is, yeah, there are those, that kind of give a lot of schools a bad name, but when you really do your homework on it, there's good reputable schools in just about every part of the country.
Yes.
Southwest is just teaming with them, like California. I know SoCal Pros got theirs, Santino Brothers,
Phenomenal
that,
school.
that one. Arizona Pro Wrestling, Rocky
Mm-hmm.
Mountain. You go
Mm-hmm.
here, Nebraska, Iowa, Black and Brave Academy, and
Mm-hmm.
all over. So like, it ain't like back in the day where you'd like research a training school and you might be having to travel halfway across the country.
And looking up, I was only 8 hours away because in any direction I would have went, it'd have been like 6 to 8. And I wasn't even too familiar with Rocky Mountain Pro at the time because I almost moved to Vegas or Utah to train. My two options, and I settled in Arizona, which best decision I've made in my life. I really do think so. Um, but another big part of that too is there's no wrong way to train if you train hard.
Yeah.
So that's the whole saying that I like to always say is it's not about where you train, it's about how you train. So it
Like,
doesn't what I'm saying? Like there's schools in New Mexico now. I'm at the Prime Athletic Complex, state of the art facility. We got a ring, got an MMA cage, we have kickboxing classes. I'm talking like this place is huge, a full gym setup, heaven on earth. Really, I can't ask for anything more. And these guys freaking train hard. They train often, 3 times a week, plus 2 days for open gym. Shout out Prime Wrestling School, man. These guys are killing it. And like, but that's not the only place. Off the ropes in Gino Rivera
well,
School, they
them.
freaking, they're the real deal. They take it very seriously. And I'm saying there's not a lot of there's a lot of good places where whenever I first started training, those two schools weren't open yet.
Mm.
All the wrestlers that came out of off the ropes, like they didn't even start training until I already started training. So like they came after. Same thing with this Prime just opened up maybe like 8 months ago now, but like now it's here, and like now I know I'm in the right place here. But there's not a wrong way to train, and this is another thing is like my trainers in Arizona, they're very much hardcore and is my way or the highway, which I appreciate because I learned so much from. But me personally, I learned that it doesn't, like I said earlier, it doesn't matter where you train, it's about how you train. Because I own a ring myself in my parents' backyard, and right now it's taken apart because we're going to be building around it. But when I put it back up, like I'll get in there for 2 3 hours and just experiment and roll and bump and just make something out of nothing. And you can do that anywhere. There's nothing wrong with training in the backyard. And some people have tried to twist my words to say that, oh, like no, that's not the case whatsoever.
Being the backyard wrestler, thinking you're just doing whole shows and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah. And like no, like if training, there's train anywhere really. It's just about how you train.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely agree. All right. Before we go, where can people find you social media wise? So if they don't already have their eyes on you, they can go ahead and get them there.
Sweet, thank you. So on Facebook, it's Tommy Test Wrestling. On Instagram, this is where I've been really expanding the most, and I've been trying to press it. I've had some good success so far. I'm over 2,000 followers now. It's kind of growing. It's going to be Tommy and then number two, scoops underscore. So Tommy 2 scoops underscore. I can send you the tag and stuff. And then on TikTok, it's more of a personal one, but I do a little bit of wrestling. I don't really use it much, but I believe it's Tommy Test Bro Official. It's like official, but bro, just. And then on my YouTube channel, it is Tommy Test Wrestling.
Okay. Yeah. We'll definitely get.
Or actually, no, I think I just changed the page. YouTube is Tommy 2 Scoops Wrestling. Actually.
Okay. Well,
I can get to the exact one, but Tommy 2 Scoops Test, 2 Scoops Tommy Test. That's all me. And if you have any questions, feel free to find me on Instagram. It's all my link tree there. It's all in my link tree there.
All righty. Yeah, we'll definitely get all of that in the description of the episode. Want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me tonight. Glad you got back from Denver safely. And, best of luck out there, Phoenix Championship Wrestling and PCW Ultra and everywhere in between.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.